If you found out your new home was occupied by an agoraphobic psychopath willing to erase your entire family, what would you do? The Alexanders might have bought this place, but that doesn't make it theirs. At least, not according to the criminally insane creepazoid crawling around inside their attic. No, the way he sees it, he was here first, and he's not about to touch grass just because a couple randos signed a piece of paper. Don't get it twisted though, dude's got no intentions of hashing it out in the courts, and if our heroes don't catch on quick, their next house will be the funeral home. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the super squatter in within. Hannah's not too happy. After her father's new job forced her family to relocate, she suddenly finds herself a fish out of water heading into senior year. And just to make matters worse, her recent grounding, as punishment for throwing a wild house party, means that she can't even enjoy what's left of her summer vacation. Truly a teenager's worst nightmare. Still, on the positive side, it sounds like this new place is a major upgrade. We come to find out that they were only able to afford it because the previous owners walked away from their mortgage. According to Hannah's father, John, the bank was in a hurry to turn it over, and so they had to buy it as is, which apparently includes all the former occupants' crap piled floor to ceiling out in the garage. Little do they realize, that's not the worst of it. A few hours after their arrival, we find Hannah in the newly unpacked office Skyping her boyfriend Tommy. The call itself is fairly unremarkable, being primarily composed of the typical young adult drama that you'd likely expect from a couple in their position. Where things get interesting, however, is once they hang up. You see, as far as she knows, Hannah's the only one in there. And yet, a full 2 seconds after leaving the room, she hears the distinct clacking of a Newton's cradle seemingly starting up on its own. Yup, nothing creepy about that. For real though, Hannah's right to check the corners before going back in, as there's simply no way that this thing could have started moving by itself. And while she could have potentially bumped into it on her way out, that still wouldn't explain the delay. Plus, just look at what it's doing. The fact that only one exterior ball is swinging at a time means someone must have deliberately pulled one back before releasing it. So there's gotta be someone in there, right? Well, here's the thing. We saw during the intro that Hannah has a cat, which could certainly explain what we're seeing here. After all, cats are generally curious creatures with excellent dexterity, so it's entirely reasonable for her to assume old Monty might actually be the culprit. I mean, what sounds more likely to you? That your stupid cat just discovered momentum? Or that Sam Fisher himself broke into your house so that he could play with your tchotchkes? Nerds, when's the last time you went to a movie theater? The bathroom is a 3-mile hike over an entire row of strangers. Strangers who clap, laugh, talk, and order dine-in lasagna. It's not worth it. Not when you can get a better experience from the comfort of your own home, your couch, your toilet, and your food. Nobody to spoil the experience. I feel the same way about casinos. Unless you're playing high-stakes poker against an international terrorist with Vesper Lind on your shoulder, just download the DraftKings Casino app. DraftKings has all your favorite real money casino games, without all the bull. Over 300 real money games, to be precise. Slots, blackjack, roulette, and live dealer games whenever you want. And they're constantly adding new real money games all the time. You won't be able to find this wide of a selection anywhere else. DraftKings is regulated, safe, secure, and confidential. Can you actually win? Yeah, you can win. DraftKings Casino has awarded over $100 million in jackpot winnings. New players can play just $5 for a shot at $2,000 in casino credits. Plus, with a minimum $5 deposit, you'll get a deposit match up to $1,000 in casino bonus funds, match playthrough required. So head to the DraftKings Casino app right now and sign up using promo code NERDEXPLAINS. If DraftKings Casino isn't yet available in your state, check out the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. Thanks to DraftKings for sponsoring this video. Jokes aside, I wouldn't write this one off just yet. We still don't know for sure that Monty was ever even in the room, And if it turns out that he's been sitting with John and Melanie the whole time, we've got a serious problem. Sure, at first glance, it doesn't look like a grown man could effectively hide in an office that small. But it's worth pointing out that Hannah never checked behind the door while going to investigate. Then again, that's probably a good thing. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't have ever even gone back in there in the first place. Either the motion was caused by Monty, in which case there's nothing to worry about, or it wasn't, in which case we would be woefully unequipped to deal with that situation. Either way, a better response would have been to calmly back away from the room and quietly observe it from a distance. And yes, I realize that at some point we're going to have to figure out definitively whether someone's actually in there, but there's no sense in rushing in if we don't have to. Fact is, even if you're well armed and properly trained, clearing rooms on your own is extremely dangerous, and since there's no one in there whose life needs saving, we might as well let it breathe for a bit. Best case scenario, Monty comes out and silently judges us for overreacting, and you know what? I'm totally fine with that. It's better to be wrong and embarrassed than wrong and dead. However, if there is an intruder, the hope is that we'll see him before he sees us, so that we can go warn the others and call the cops. Once a few minutes pass, or we get tired of waiting, we'll call out to John and Melanie so that the three of us can go check it out together. Of course, if I legitimately believed that there was someone inside my house, I would skip straight to the part where my loved ones and I retreat to a defensible position and wait for help to arrive. But in this situation, there's still a pretty good chance it'll turn out to be nothing. So it's probably a little too early to want to get police involved. That said, you better believe I'm gonna have 911 queued up on my phone the entire time. It might take them minutes to get here, but at least it'll be starting that clock at the first sign of trouble. Who knows? Maybe if we're lucky, the responding officers will get here before we all bleed out. That'd be nice. Anyway, I'm sure by now many of you think that I'm completely overreacting here. In fact, I can already see the comments coming in. Local nerd completely burns down house after hearing mouse sneeze. I get it, but remember, this is not an ordinary bump in the night. It's not a door creaking open from a draft or the house settling. We're talking about a very specific and precise action being taken by an unknown actor within the house, likely for the purpose of luring Hannah away from her family. Yes, maybe it was Monty. I found more than a few videos of cats playing with Newton's cradles in a surprisingly human way, but if it wasn't, then we have an intruder. There's no middle ground. So until we figure that out for sure, we need to approach the situation with a healthy level of paranoia. We'll take a flashlight, arm ourselves if possible, and we'll be sure to check the crack behind the door before going in. If the room's empty and there's no other way out, then we can reasonably conclude that it was a false alarm. But until then, I'm not taking my eyes off that office door for even a second. Now, as for Hannah's actual response, I can't fault her completely given the whole cat situation. But at the very least, I'd expect her to be on the lookout for anything unusual going forward. And believe me, she's not gonna have to look very hard. Later that same night, Hannah awakened suddenly to find her bedside glass of water mysteriously empty. And you know what that means. Okay, alright, she could have easily just drank it while half asleep. Probably nothing to worry about there. What is concerning is what she finds while going downstairs for a refill. While passing by the kitchen table, Hannah notices the liquor cabinet was seemingly pushed aside to reveal a small ventilation grate. Once again, her initial reaction is to simply shrug it off as nothing. And this time I can't really blame her. After all, she knows that John and Melanie were arguing over where to put it, so it's entirely possible that her dad might have moved it out of spite. Here's the thing though, when John first placed the liquor cabinet, he had it lined up with the nearby window, whereas in this case, the thing is just shoved into a corner. All I'm saying is that to me, it looks less like someone redecorating and more like someone moving it out of the way. Question is, why? Guess we'll find out later. For now, Hannah moves the cabinet back where it belongs and makes her way to the fridge. But just as she's about to top up her glass, a sudden scratching noise brings her attention to Monty outside the sliding glass door.
What are you doing out there?
Wow, good thing they have an alarm. I mean, you all saw that ghoulish caveman-looking thing standing right behind her, right? If that siren hadn't gone off when it did, our hero would have really wished that she'd stayed in bed. So, yeah, guess we know who rocked the cradle earlier. But unfortunately for Hannah and company, the freak must have scurried off before they could spot him. What's more, it never really occurs to Hannah just how strange the whole thing with Monty really is. Seriously though, why was he out there? Rewinding a bit, we can see that he was curled up right next to Hannah when she went to sleep. And while it's unclear whether her bedroom door was already shut at the time, it definitely was when she got up to go downstairs. Either way, the real question is how Monty got outside. Assuming all the other doors and windows were closed, the only way that he could have gotten out of the house is if someone let him out. You know, like, say, a hostile intruder coming in to saw their heads off. Problem is, we know that John set the alarm before Hannah went to bed, so if someone opened a door, it would have gone off, right? Well, not if they already had the code. But wait, it gets so much worse. You see, even if somebody had the code, the alarm would still have gone off the second they entered the house. That means whoever let Monty out was already inside when the alarm was set. The way I see it, this guy must have been watching somehow as John used the keypad. He then deactivated the alarm to let the cat out before rearming it to cover his tracks. And that means that he's still inside. I mean, sure, it's possible that he could have run out of a different door once Hannah triggered the alarm, but are you really gonna take that chance? And yes, I'm well aware that John or Melanie could have deactivated the alarm at some point and gone out to get something. But you know how we figure that one out? We ask them. If they've been inside all night and all the other doors and windows are closed, then there's literally no other possible explanation. Oh, and just to top it all off, as Hannah's returning upstairs, she notices that the liquor cabinet was shoved back in the corner again. I wonder what that's all about. We know that John couldn't have possibly had the time to do that while responding to the alarm, and even if he could have, why the would he? Is now really the time to settle furniture disputes? No, clearly the creeper's moving it around so that he can reach the ventilation shaft. He's in the walls, so you know that there's only one thing left to do. Or we could just call the cops, whichever's easier. However, maybe Hannah's not yet convinced that this level of action's warranted given what little she's seen so far. Maybe she ends up finding an open window that's not monitored by the security system. Or maybe John and Melanie really let Monty out by accident. You still can't deny that there's something seriously weird going on around here. And were I in Hannah's shoes, there's simply no way that I'd be able to sleep at night until I figured out what it was. So here's what I'm thinking. If we're still unsure about calling the police, why don't we set up Hannah's digital camcorder and try to catch this knuckle dragger red-handed? We'll want to place it somewhere with a solid view of the kitchen, since that would be his last known location. Of course, we'll also want to do our best to hide it, or else he might not show. And at worst, it could even cause him to attack if he feels like we're on to him. And since there's no telling where or when he might be watching us, we'll have to find a way to disguise our actions as well. Knowing this, I think the best approach would be to hide in plain sight, so to speak. Instead of loitering in a dark corner where it would be obvious that we're up to something, we'll sit down at a kitchen table and start openly messing with the camera. We could even break out the instruction manual and pretend like we're trying to fix it. Then, once we feel like we've sufficiently sold the bit, we'll discreetly press record and set the camera down facing the liquor cabinet. At that point, all that's left to do is get up to go take a phone call, or use the bathroom, or whatever, and then come back later to see what we've got. There's a couple problems though, with the biggest being coverage. Obviously, placing the camera in a corner instead would give us a much better view of the entire room, and it also prevents him from sneaking up behind it. With that in mind, a better spot would probably be off in the corner to the left of the sink, but as I already pointed out, we'd have a hard time setting it up there without looking suspicious. Granted, okay, Hannah wouldn't actually have any way of knowing whether this dude can still see her from up in his hidey hole, but what if he can? Without knowing how long he's been here, there's no telling how many peepholes or hidden vantage points that he might have created to help keep tabs on his roommates. And besides, what do you think John and Melanie are gonna do if they find our camcorder stashed behind the paper towels? I mean, they're probably not gonna beat us with a rubber hose for it, but even asking about it could be enough to blow the entire operation if the creeper overhears. No, just about the only way that I think we could pull that off is by going downstairs late at night and dropping it off while grabbing a glass of water. We'd want to wear a baggy hooded sweatshirt so we can hide the camera in the pouch during transit. Then, once we reach the sink, we would quickly stuff it in the corner while grabbing a glass from the cupboard. Here's the thing though, in order for this to have any chance of going unnoticed, we'd have to do it with the lights off, alone, all while having our back turned towards the vent. And yeah, there's no way I'm doing that. I don't care if it's less effective. We're going with option A. Unfortunately, no matter how we go about it, the limited battery life on Hannah's Sony Handycam is gonna be an issue. We're talking an hour or so max on a full charge, so we'll have to start recording right before everyone either goes to bed or leaves the house to maximize our chances of catching something good. And sure, we could eliminate this problem entirely by simply plugging it in, but this would probably make it more obvious. Then again, if we're pretending to work on it, plugging the camcorder in afterwards wouldn't be all that unusual. So maybe I'm just overthinking this. At any rate, it seems Hannah simply hasn't seen enough to question literally anything about the situation. And so just like before, she decides to ignore it altogether and go on pretending everything's just fine. Spoiler alert, it is not. The next sign of trouble comes a couple days later while our hero is in the shower. Now obviously, you and I can clearly see the silhouette of the creeper as he watches from the corner, but to the unaware Hannah, it's just your average rinse and repeat. That is, until the lights go out. Yeah, oh is right. You're unarmed, cornered, wet, and blind. In the business, we call this checkmate. Lucky for her, there's at least another hour of runtime left in this thing, or else we'd probably be treated to a nice little jump scare once the lights come back on. Instead, all we get is a big fat handprint slapped across the shower door, which, while not exactly a smoking gun, is still enough to get those wheels turning inside Hannah's head. It's just too bad they're moving in the wrong direction. You see, despite everything that just went down, Hannah only seems to really care about the handprint, and if you ask me, that is the least concerning part. After all, John or one of the movers could have easily left that there the day that they moved in, and as for why she only noticed now, it's probably because she never had a reason to look. I mean, think about it. When was the last time that you carefully examined your shower door before getting in or out? If you're like me, the answer is never, and that's because mine has a curtain. Regardless, the only reason Hannah even discovered that thing in the first place is because she was already on high alert after the lights went out. So yeah, of course, her boyfriend is gonna dismiss the whole thing as nothing. She's focused on the wrong part. It's the lights, you moron. What happened to the lights? The fact that she was able to turn them back on at the switch means that it couldn't have been a power outage or someone hitting the breaker. So unless some halfwit wired up another switch out in the hall, the only way that they could have possibly been shut off is from inside the room. Oh yeah, there's also the part where she could clearly hear what sounded like someone breathing right next to her while she was standing in the dark. I'm gonna say that confirms it. Seriously though, what more does this chick need to see before she pulls her head out? There is someone inside your house. He turned the lights off while you were in the shower, stood next to you in the darkness, and then presumably ducked back into the nearby closet afterwards so you wouldn't catch him. Now is when you run straight to the nearest other person and tell them to call the cops while you get as far away as possible. If John and Melanie aren't around, go to the neighbors. If they're not home, flag down a car. Just please, for the love of God, stop pretending like anything about this mess is in any way normal, as it is most certainly not. Also, yeah, probably shouldn't go to the creepy neighbor's place for help. More on him later. Anyway, after once again brushing off yet another painfully obvious sign of intrusion, Hannah returns to her previously assigned chore of sorting through all the junk out in the garage. It is here that she is approached by one of the local brats who basically tells her what she should already know.
You know how every neighborhood has that one creepy house?
Yeah.
You're living in it.
Cool. Well, at least this means no trick-or-treaters. It doesn't stop there, though. The boy goes on to explain that one of the previous families was found dead from an apparent murder unalive, blamed on the father. But hey, that's probably just some stupid rumor made up by some stupid kids to explain why the stupid house is always changing hands, right? Wrong. We find out from John shortly thereafter that the realtor informed him of this fact before the purchase. According to him, the incident took place more than 10 years ago, and 2 other families have lived here since. So why ruin a good thing by being open and honest with the 2 people on planet Earth who trust him implicitly? Well, I don't know. Maybe because they could easily find out about it in any number of different ways. I mean, it's not like Hannah's gonna stay grounded forever. Plus, as soon as she starts school in a couple months, you know someone's gonna break the news to her the second that they find out where she lives. And sure, if the media coverage is to be believed, there's nothing to worry about in terms of an outstanding threat. But still, talk about eroding the trust of your family members. Who knows what else this guy's been hiding from them? One thing's for sure though, were I in Hannah's shoes, I would not let this development distract me from the current situation. Yes, maybe there's some kind of connection, maybe not. Either way, it doesn't change the fact that we're in serious danger. So no, you're not gonna catch me sitting with my back to an open door while doom scrolling through news stories online. And you're sure as hell not gonna catch me climbing up into the pitch dark attic just because it sounds like Monty's up there. Sorry, PETA people, but he's just a cat. And for all we know, the same sicko that shut the lights off earlier dragged him up top to lure us in. Hannah clearly loves her cat after all. That said, if we're just bound and determined to get him out of there, there's a pretty easy way that we can go about it without walking into an ambush. All we gotta do is put some cat food underneath the attic hatch and leave it open until he eventually gets hungry. Keep in mind, we'll want to open the hatch from the backside to minimize our exposure to potential threats. Worst case scenario, the dude jumps down immediately, but in that case, we'll already have the ladder hanging down to create separation while we retreat into the master bedroom, and also out the window. But no, it seems that in spite of all the terrifying and mysterious crap she's endured, Hannah is actually going up there, and the hatch just closed. Awesome. Well, don't just stand there, time to jump on that thing crazy style until it pops open. God knows it's better to bust your falling down than to stay locked in with whoever closed it, especially when he looks like this. Nope, none of that. Hannah's just lucky her dad heard her cries for help in time to pull the hatch open. Otherwise, this would probably be where the sidewalk ends. Of course, the biggest win here is that our hero finally has seen enough to know exactly what they're dealing with. So I guess that's it then. All that's left to do now is GTFO and let our tax dollars handle the rest. Or at least it would be, were it not for the walking embodiment of normalcy bias that is Hannah's father. According to him, she's just seeing things because the neighbor kids freaked her out. And just to prove it, the crazy actually goes up to have a look around, unarmed, without a flashlight. Like, bro, your daughter, who is clearly an adult, just came screaming out of the attic because she saw someone up there, and it's not like she's got a habit of crying wolf. I mean, if anything, Hannah's biggest failure in all this is the fact that she hasn't already raised the alarm. At least then he wouldn't be able to pull the ghost story card since all the other freaky stuff happened before she found out about it. But alas, now that John has completed his half-baked sweep of the attic, he's concluded that his daughter didn't see anything because there's nothing there. And so, as far as he's concerned, that's the end of it. Great. Good luck sleeping tonight. Oh, and just to make matters worse, it turns out that Melanie is just as clueless as he is. In fact, she even admits to hearing strange noises like whistling from time to time, but chooses to ignore them because she thinks, and I quote, "There's an explanation for everything." Well, no. See, this is why it would have been a great idea to try and catch something on film. Hannah's brain-dead dad and stepmom have the final say when it comes to any kind of meaningful response. So if she can't convince them that there's a problem, then the problem will likely persist. For example, let's say Hannah decided to call the cops after what happened up in the attic. Well, because John and Melanie don't believe that she actually saw anything up there, the first thing that they're gonna do is tell the responding officers that their daughter was overreacting, and that would be the end of it. No search, not even a walkthrough. They would just give them their card and head out on their merry way. Now, that being said, there is a pretty easy way that we can get around this. We know that John and Melanie both work during the day, so all we'd have to do is wait until they leave in the morning and then call in a home invasion. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, there's a catch. Upon arrival, officers will carefully search every room, closet, and dark corner for any sign of the intruder, and under normal circumstances, that'd probably be the end of it. The cops would hear him scurrying around. They'd cut a hole in the wall and then take him into custody. However, in this case, it seems we're facing off against some kind of human rat capable of silently traversing the house at the speed of light. So a standard search probably is not going to cut it. I mean, I've heard of cops humoring some pretty outlandish calls, but there's no way in hell you're going to see Officer James Garcia squeezing inside a ventilation shaft when there's no sign of intrusion. In all likelihood, they'd just tell her that whoever it is must have left and to call them back if she gets murdered. Of course, they'd almost certainly say the same to John and Melanie, assuming we got through to them, but at least they wouldn't think that we're going insane. Plus, if nothing else, having our parents on board means we probably wouldn't be staying there anymore, which is perfectly fine by me. Still, it's not like the Alexanders can afford to stay in a hotel forever, and even if they could, I mean, come on. Are we really gonna let some sicko run us out of our own house? Screw that. Unless this dude starts paying rent, he's gotta go. And if the cops won't help us, we'll just have to take matters into our own hands. First thing I'd do is reach out to the alarm company to see if they offer any kind of in-home surveillance system with remote viewing. If they do, and it's within our budget, we'll give them permission to enter the house and let the installers handle the rest. Ideally, they'll be able to complete their job and leave without issue. But if something should happen to them while they're inside, it'd only give the cops more of a reason to investigate. So either way, I'm calling it a win. Anyway, once that's taken care of, we'll simply sit back at our hotel room and take shifts watching the camera feeds to ensure nothing slips by. If we're lucky, the freak will pop out somewhere in view of a camera and give away his tunnel network, at which point we'll have all the evidence that we need to demand further action. Otherwise, we'll just have to move on to phase 2. Now, when I was initially working this one out, one of the first things that came to my mind was having the whole house professionally tented and fumigated by a pest control company. But then upon looking into it, that kind of fell apart. First of all, it is expensive, with an average house costing anywhere from $2,000 to $8,000, which probably falls outside the Alexander's price range. Plus, you've got to get an inspection. There could be moisture damage, the whole thing just seems like a headache. And besides, if we're just trying to get rid of the guy, we don't need to kill him. We just need to make life so unbearably difficult that he comes out on his own, and then we can kill him. So here's what I propose. Bug bombs. You can get them in 4 counts at Walmart for $10 a pack. And according to the website, a single raid deep reach fogger can treat a room measuring up to 625 square feet. However, that's for roaches. So we'd probably want to double up in larger rooms or areas with higher ceilings. And plus, we've also got to account for all the ventilation shafts, crawl spaces, and any other tight spots where that freak could be hiding. Realistically, I'd say that puts us somewhere around a couple dozen to make sure that we have everything covered. But we'll go ahead and get to 48 of them just to be safe. Oh, and speaking of safety, we'll also want to turn off any pilot lights, air conditioners, and central heaters prior to release, or else the house could potentially explode. It would take care of the creeper though. Of course, once we get started, it's not going to take long before he figures out what we're up to. So we'll want to be prepared for a fight in case he comes out swinging. Unfortunately, being that this is in California, acquiring firearms will take 10 days minimum if we go the legal route. So we'll just have to settle for whatever we can scrounge up at the local hardware store. Personally, I'm thinking machetes. They'd be difficult for him to grab, and they're also machetes. Although, regardless of what we're taking with us, I gotta say, I wouldn't feel all that great about dragging my wife and daughter back into into that nightmare. But at the same time, I don't really see another option. I mean, we can't go in alone. It'd be Sudoku. And as for rounding up volunteers, well, what the hell would you even say to them? Hey man, if you're not busy tomorrow, you wanna come over and help me fight the troglodyte hiding in my attic? I'm sure that'll go over well. In any case, we'll start the attack by hitting the attic first. Moving as a group, the three of us will watch each other's backs as we deploy 2 canisters on either side of the room, as well as 1 in any open vents or crawl spaces we find along the way. From there, it's just a matter of systematically hitting every room and ventilation grate until we reach the front door. We'll toss 1 more in the garage, and then we'll take up positions around the house to watch for any signs of life. Assuming it all goes according to plan, I can only imagine that the dude will eventually come bailing out of a window to escape the burning wrath of SC Johnson. But if not, we'll have to move on to Phase 3, the nuclear option. Also, for legal reasons, I have to say that everything that you hear in this episode is a joke. In fact, I don't actually exist, and this whole YouTube thing is just a figment of your imagination. Now that that's out of the way, we'll start off Phase 3 by making sure our insurance covers cases of arson carried out by malicious third parties. Assuming it does, we'll simply toss a few Molotov cocktails up into the attic and then blame it all on the intruder. We tried asking him nicely to leave, okay? He just wouldn't budge. And then once we threatened to get the cops involved, the crazy started setting the place on fire. It's not our fault. And sure, all this might sound completely insane, but so is the situation. And while the overall tone of the movie doesn't really support the idea of a superhuman antagonist, as you'll come to find out, there's simply no way that someone like this could actually exist in real life. Dude is straight up Michael Myers, and as such, he must be dealt with in a manner befitting some kind of monster. But of course, this is all assuming we even wanted to go back to the house in the first place. And if I'm Hannah right now, you've gotta believe that there is no way that I'm ever setting foot in that place again. Especially after she finds out the nice little video Encino Man left on her camcorder. Still, it sure was nice of the evil bad guy to provide irrefutable evidence of intrusion in a format that can easily be shared with other people. Now, John and Melanie will have no other choice but to take our claims seriously. What's more, now that we have actual proof of a home invasion, the cops will likely put forth considerably more effort while searching the premises. So maybe there's a chance that they actually find him. Or maybe not. You see, right off the bat, everyone, including Hannah, attributes the act to that shifty neighbor guy I mentioned earlier. Long story short, Ray was the locksmith that they hired to rekey the house after moving in, but he turned out to be a total creep. Because of this, they ultimately hired someone else for a follow-up job replacing all the locks. And even though that was all clearly his fault, it still really pissed him off. So much so that he ended up threatening John out in his own driveway. Now, based on everything that I just said, I can definitely understand why they might think it was Ray. Dude's got the motive, the means, and the opportunity to get through any door in their house. And on top of all that, we come to find out that Ray and his wife decided to pack up and leave on the exact same day that Hannah discovered the video. So yeah, I'd say that there's a pretty solid case to be made that Ray's the one responsible here. However, what I don't understand is why they'd automatically assume that the danger has passed just because he disappeared. I mean, if anything, the fact that the cops aren't able to find him only raises the severity of the situation. We are talking about a guy who made open threats against your family, perved on your daughter, and then potentially snuck into your house at night and filmed you all in your sleep. At the very least, you'd expect them to want their place searched top to bottom. Oh, and get this, not only do John and Melanie completely fail to act from a security perspective, they also decide to keep leaving their daughter at home, by herself for 8+ hours a day while they're at work. That is totally insane. Just let Hannah stay with someone else for a bit until this mess gets sorted out. After all, she made it quite clear even before the weirdness clocked off that she doesn't want to be here. and supposedly some of her friends back home even offered to put her up for the entire year. So maybe it's time to take them up on that. Although, I guess I can't come down too hard on John and Mel's abysmal parenting when it seems that even Hannah herself has completely forgotten that she was ever in danger. Case in point, we soon find her changing alone in the house with music blaring and her bedroom door hanging wide open. And wouldn't you know it, this just so happens to be the exact same moment Ray picked to come by and reap his revenge. Little does he realize, he's not the only one watching. Brutal. Dude never even stood a chance, and neither will Hannah if she doesn't wake the hell up. Seriously though, were I in her shoes, I would not spend more than 2 seconds in that place without someone else around. And besides, now that her dad let her off the hook, what exactly is stopping her from taking her car back home and posting up with her friends? I mean, it can't be that far of a drive. Tommy's been making it every other day, and it's a good thing too, because he basically winds up cracking this case wide open. While examining an old photo of the house's former owners, Dude notices another person seemingly spying on them from an upstairs window. Keep in mind, this is the same family that went out to murder Toaster Bath back in 2002. And across all the news reports, there was never any mention of a fourth person living inside the house. In fact, it's almost like there was an unknown entity silently observing them from a distance while they went about their daily lives. Now, why does that sound familiar? And yet, despite Hannah's deep-seated interest and proximity to the case, this development somehow fails to hold her attention for any amount of time at all. And as for Tommy, Dude gets straight up yoinked by the creeper the second he leaves the room. That's right, the freak just sort of grabs him, barehanded, and not even over the mouth. So apparently we're supposed to believe this guy managed to subdue someone of roughly equal height and weight without making so much as a single sound perceptible to anyone else in the house. See what I mean about the superpowers? Literally all he did was bear hug the guy. No way that would have shut him up. Plus, then you got the struggle, the kicking, the bouncing off walls. And all this time, Hannah and her dad are right downstairs acting like nothing's going on. For real though, that's game over for these people. If they can't tell when someone's getting brutally choked out through a paper-thin floor, they will never hear the Lurkatron coming. And it certainly doesn't help that mom and dad picked tonight, no more than 2 days after learning that their house was burglarized, to go out on a date night. But wait, it gets even better. Remember how Hannah saw that face in the window of the photograph? Well, apparently she doesn't. And that's why she's currently sitting alone in the dark getting wine drunk while staring at the TV. Clearly, these are the actions of someone utterly unconcerned with their long-term survival. All I can say is that I sure hope no one slips something in her drink while she's distracted. Otherwise, she might end up spending the whole night getting spoon-cuddled by the grotesque human mole rat hiding inside the air ducts. Oh, and would you look at that? It's exactly what happens. God, I can't even imagine how bad her clothes are gonna reek whenever she wakes up. Not to mention the bedding. In fact, how on earth did no one ever smell this guy whenever he got close? I mean, just look at him. Dude could probably gag a whale carcass. Whatever. It's not like they'd actually do anything about it. After all, just look at what happens in the morning. Here we see Hannah looking totally traumatized, and yet all John cares about is the open wine bottle he found. Like, dude, I'm pretty sure given everything that's been going on, your daughter has a bit more to worry about than getting grounded again. I'm guessing that date didn't go very well. But hey, credit where it's due. At least our hero doesn't let her father's criminal negligence discourage her from acting on her intuition. Apparently, whatever horrors Hannah remembers from the night before have finally motivated her to actually do something, which in this case means poring over a bunch of old documents she found out in the garage. Gotta say, I think at this point, running away from home would probably be the better option. And no, I'm not saying she should go and live on the street. I mean the simple act of getting away from this house and everyone in it as fast as her feet can possibly carry her. From there, she could hit up a local crisis center and try explaining the situation to someone who might actually listen. Then again, without knowing Ray bought the farm, she'd probably be worried about running into him. So it honestly makes sense that she might feel trapped here. In any case, Hannah's search proves successful, as she comes away from the trash heap with a psychologist-certified report concerning one David Howe. To clarify, the Howes were the family that got all true crimed after the father allegedly snapped. However, the information in this document paints a drastically different picture. According to the report, David was totally bonkers, and between his frequent violent outbursts and irrational fear of going outside, it seems that his family eventually saw fit to have him committed. However, I get the feeling that that didn't quite go as planned. So wait, hang on. If David was free to waste his entire family at the time of the murders, how is it in any way possible that could have gone unnoticed during the investigation? Are you seriously telling me the whole time that they were in the house, not a single one of the cops thought to check the family photos? Or, I don't know, maybe count the bedrooms? What the hell were they even doing in there? It's bad enough that some random teenage nitwit seemingly spotted David's face in the picture before anyone else did. But now it looks like this whole family's gonna get wiped out just because a bunch of blue brainlets couldn't count past 3. Amazing. Well, okay. They're not entirely screwed just yet. I mean, it's not looking great, but Hannah did just figure out the big bad's weakness: outside. Lucky for us, the house is surrounded by it. So I say we take these documents to the outside so we can show them to John and Melanie without poking the bear. But no, it seems that despite realizing David would never have left the house, Hannah feels the best place for them to loudly discuss his existence is right here in the stairwell. And you'll never guess who's listening.
He killed his family. They wanted to take him away from his home.
Yeah, I bet it did. And don't you think having a similar conversation on a similar subject might yield similar results? Well, apparently the answer is no, as immediately upon ending their conversation, John and Melanie head upstairs to call the mental hospital, as if there's even the slightest possibility that that'll lead anywhere. And just to make matters worse, John effectively states that his decision to call the police is contingent upon whether or not the nut house decides to give them David's information, which we already know they're not going to do. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. If you're even considering the possibility that some family annihilator might be hiding inside your house right now, you need to get the hell out immediately and only come back once you've proven otherwise, not the other way around. Oh, and what's Hannah going to do in the meantime? Well, she pretty much just hangs out alone in the kitchen while waiting on mommy and daddy to sort this all out. Cause, you know, it definitely takes 2 people to make a phone call. And sure enough, Hannah suddenly finds herself faced with the obvious consequences of her own actions when she spots a reflection of David slithering up behind her. This results in a brief chase sequence wherein David's special agoraphobe powers are put on full display. For real though, dude basically teleports himself back up to the attic, and while he clearly prefers the stealthy approach, we come to find out he's not exactly shy about pulling a 1v3.
Call the police, go!
Bro, a mole person just jumped out of your ceiling. I'm pretty sure they know to go call the cops. Right now, the only thing that should be going through your mind is putting that freak in a rear naked choke and not letting go until someone physically pulls you off of him. Unfortunately, John's failure to act quickly costs him the upper hand, and the ensuing struggle ends with him being lassoed by an extension cord and dragged up into the darkness at breakneck speed. Yeah, that actually happened. Anyway, it's not over yet, as Father of the Year somehow manages to free himself in time to pull the baseball bat from his inventory. However, as John finds out the hard way, he's no longer got the home field advantage. This is David's world now, and he knows every inch of it. That said, our hero still could have managed to turn the tables had he dropped back towards the attic window and used the wall to cover his back. This way, he wouldn't have had to worry about scanning the entire area all at once, and instead could have stayed focused on watching the arc in front of him. Too late now though, but just when it looks like Hannah's about to save some money on Father's Day, who else but the world's fastest police response shows up at the nick of time to instantly solve all their problems. And by that I mean, shoot someone whose face we cannot clearly see. So I guess that about wraps this one up. The cops haul the bad guy off on a gurney, and the Alexanders are finally free to pack their stuff and go stay in a motel. Still, much like the house slaying, there's something about the way that this situation is handled that appears stupid. I mean, the cops barely even spend 20 minutes in there before they hit the road. And what little interaction they have with the family basically amounts to some bored-looking detective explaining that there was someone living inside of their house. Yeah, somehow I think they already figured that one out. At any rate, it seems fairly obvious to me that this is not how things are supposed to go down, and so I reached out to a friend of mine in law enforcement to get his perspective on how something like this might actually play out. Also, he runs an Instagram and YouTube channel under the name Tactical Dork, where he posts some pretty cool stuff. You should go check him out if you have the time. Links in the description. So for starters, the moment that first shot landed on the suspect, this whole situation transitioned from a home invasion to an officer-involved shooting. And that means they're gonna tear this house to literal pieces, looking for every last shred of evidence that they can possibly use to show that this guy was a threat. This means every last drop of blood, every last scrap of clothing, every last item he might have touched and place he might have been is going to be cataloged as part of this process, and it doesn't stop there. As soon as the Alexanders are determined to be okay, they would immediately be pulled into separate interviews, wherein each of them would be asked to provide as many details as possible concerning the incident. This means they would speak with Hannah, who I sincerely hope would tell them all about the creeper and how he used the house's many ventilation shafts and crawl spaces to get around unseen. Assuming she does, investigators would then proceed to widen their search to cover those areas as well, and at that point, they would almost certainly figure out where the real David was hiding and attempt to take him into custody. That's right, David is very much still alive, although I'm sure by now you've already pieced that together yourself. Of course, that probably means you've also figured out who exactly it was that just flatlined over at the hospital. Poor Tommy never even had a chance. Well, actually, he kinda did. I mean, at this point, I don't even want to speculate on how David kept him restrained up there for over 24 hours without him making a sound. But given he was seemingly able to stand and walk under his own power, I'm not sure why he wouldn't have at least tried answering the officer's call before charging straight towards him. I don't know. Maybe David pushed him. It's really hard to say. One thing's for sure though, because Tommy was still alive at the scene, investigators wouldn't have tried to start identifying him until his condition was made stable, or he died. Either way, they're sure as hell not gonna drag a bunch of freshly traumatized taxpayers over to the gurney for a round of guess who. So if he doesn't have his wallet on him, it could be several hours before law enforcement ever even realized that they got the wrong guy. Still, it's probably not gonna matter as it concerns David, as like I said before, the cops are not gonna be leaving this place anytime soon. We're talking 5 to 6 hours at the absolute minimum, but realistically, it'd be more than 8. Also, during this time, the Alexanders would be largely prohibited from re-entering their home, as doing so would risk contaminating evidence in what's now an active crime scene. Realistically, they'd probably just wind up going to the motel like they planned. Only, instead of being left to pack in an empty house, they'd have cops pretty much all over the place watching their every move. Now, the reason I bring all this up is to point out that had law enforcement not totally failed them with such a comedically insufficient investigation, things likely would have turned out differently for them at the very end. But apparently, all the local cops in this part of the town are sitting on Big Creep's payroll, and so the cycle must continue. Yup, just like that. However, even as bad as things might look for both Hannah and her parents right now, there's still no fewer than 3 opportunities where they could potentially still turn it all around. The first is when John and Melanie hear Hannah calling for help from inside one of the walls. Now, given everything that they've just seen and heard over the past couple of hours, you would think that our protagonists would immediately recognize this as a sign that there is still an active threat. And yet, for some unknown reason, neither of them thinks to immediately dial 911 to start getting help on the way. Hell, Melanie even sets her phone down after hearing the screams. It's almost like they've totally unlearned every single lesson life has taught them since this nightmare first began. And the way I see it, that is strike 1. As for strike 2, that takes place when John splits off from Melanie to go chase David around the house. Cause, you know, We all saw just how well their last fight worked out. Seriously though, I can understand driving him away from Mel while she searches for a place to pull Hannah out, but once you lose sight of him, you might as well forget it. Dude could be literally anywhere at that point. Meanwhile, had John stayed with his wife, he could have helped her widen the opening where Hannah was nearly free. I mean, it's just sheetrock. Put your foot through the wall. Or you could just grab a hold of her wrists and start pulling her through the hole. I can 100% guarantee that whatever injuries she sustained from that would be absolutely nothing compared to what David has planned for her. But by far the worst decision Team Good Guy makes is when John tells Hannah to try and reach the attic, as if she might have any possible idea which paths go all the way up and which ones hit a dead end. Plus, for yet another unknown reason, Melanie decides not to follow John up into the attic and instead just sort of walks around shouting at the ceiling. So if you're not going for help, and you're not actively helping John or Hannah, then what on earth are you actually doing? You know, besides creating a perfect opportunity for David to single you out and shank you. Bye-bye. And although John does somehow manage to fish Hannah out from the subfloor before David gets to her, that doesn't change the fact that his decision to send her up there needlessly overcomplicated the situation. That, my friends, is strike 3, and that is why John winds up swinging from his neck like he just robbed a stagecoach. But what about Hannah's part in all this? Well, to be honest, she did just about as well as anyone could given the circumstances, and I have to give her credit for continuing to call for help despite David's presence nearby. However, once she falls and breaks her ankle coming out of the attic, I gotta say, it's pretty much curtains. Nevertheless, our hero keeps on fighting through her injuries until she reaches the front door. It is here, mere feet away from safety, that Hannah successfully digs her own grave with nothing but a broken picture frame. For you see, she only stabs the bad guy once. It's one of the most commonly seen cardinal sins of the horror genre, up there with splitting up and getting busy in the woods. And in this case, it's made even worse by the fact that Hannah's barely even able to move. And with that, Hannah can do nothing but scream as David tightens his grasp around her neck. And with the recently sparked electrical fire closing in around them, it's safe to say that nobody will be making it out of this one alive. In the end, all of our protagonists wound up dead, although it's not 100% their fault. After all, there were 2 different generations of the local law enforcement that totally dropped the ball here, and had either one of them managed to perform their duties adequately, Hannah, Melanie, and John would have almost certainly survived. That said, once Hannah found David's medical records, literally all they had to do was get out of the house immediately, and everything would have been fine. And for that reason, I think Within was beaten. Thanks for watching, and remember, never skip the home inspection.